Hello and welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AWOL. And today we're working on a zigzag pattern that I'm sure there's probably a pattern number to it. I have no idea what it is. I worked it based on memory and worked it based on just the repetitive nature of how this pattern goes. It goes to the left 3 times, comes to the right 5 times. That's just repeats throughout the whole thing, and it leaves a little diamond at the edge on the right hand side that also sort of happens to the left. It's just a zigzag pattern I've probably been doing since the late 80s. It was kind of early discovered on when I was doing zigzags. If you double this pattern, you end up with the Arrowhead, which I do know the pattern number. That's pattern number 28. So this is what would happen if instead of doubling it, you just kind of shift it off to the side a bit. And I think that's fascinating. I think that's one of the coolest things about this pattern is the fact that it's like that. Now, this one is 6 strings. That's all I started with, was 6 strings. They come up and over with a really tiny kumi loop, which I don't think technically it's a kumi. I'm not sure what it is. I know my wife uses a kumi disc to make it, but it's sort of, she described it as like triangular in a way. It's not like a normal braid. I don't know quite what it is. And then you have the 6 strings then coming back down. So it ends up being a 12-string bracelet, but it's just 12 individual little strands, which makes it really, really petite, which is cool. I definitely want some of those in my shop. I think that's like when we did the art fair, it seemed to be a kind of a popular thing, was the smaller bracelets. So I'm definitely trying to do that. But that's not necessarily my favorite way of doing things. You know, I like the thicker bracelet. I like it to be a little bit chunkier, but you know, to each their own. I got to make for the masses, so I'm making these. And it turns out this one took me 1 hour and 40 minutes to make. All right, now this is the elongated version, the extra 3 rows at the top and bottom. So yeah, I really, it's a pattern that I've done for a long time. I didn't have to refer to looking at the pattern on my computer. There was no like complicated thing about it. The only time I really had to pay attention was how it ends, because typically when I used to do these, I would just sort of hit the end and let it end kind of abruptly. This was letting the pattern kind of continue to the very last knot, which is definitely not how I used to do it. So this had a little bit of a difference to it. That's fine. I like the way that turned out as a result. I think that's really cool. But it's a tiny detail that will hardly go noticed. To be honest, it's adding extra work for no real apparent need, but I wanted to try, so I did. But yeah, 1 hour and 40 minutes. That really surprised me. It didn't, like, if I do this with 12 strings doubled up, typically I would be able to do that within 1 hour. So yeah, it's just a whole extra half hour, because the knots are a little bit more finicky. The strings, you know, you got to be a little bit more careful with. Yeah, it just kind of surprises me, the difference there. You will notice me at times, like right now, where I'm working kind of a ways away from the clip, and I don't recommend that. It just can kind of lead to the work getting a little bit sloppy looking, but yeah, I have so much experience, honestly. I can kind of get away with it. I'm keeping the standing strings down really, really low, which helps to keep that even. But I would definitely recommend doing what I just did there, moving it up, keep it closer to the clip, it will help your work greatly, honestly. There is no way of telling where the middle is there? This doesn't have like where it changes in the center. So let me get this out of the way. Let me just quick thank my YouTube members for making this possible. Honestly, I do need the support. The channel doesn't make much from the ads. So, and I don't have the Patreon any longer. So it's just these guys that are helping to support the channel. So thank you guys very much for that. I've come to realize it's a different amount in different countries. And I think it's just kind of based off of like $4 in the US. I think it might even be $3.99 in the US, whatever, $4. And then whatever that equivalence is, you know, around the world and whatever your currency is. So, yeah, you know, I don't know. I don't know what it will be for you, but yeah, it's pretty cool. This is a relatively easy pattern if you can do zigzags. If you can like make the knot that comes to the right and then to the left. If you can do that, this is an overall fairly easy pattern to get the hang of. It's like the beginning of the intermediate. Like this is, you know, it is a bit intuitive. Once you kind of get the pattern figured out, it just kind of makes sense. You do the little diamond on the right, you bring the other string all the way down. The next string doesn't quite go as far, and then they keep kind of dropping off in the same way. Then you get the diamond on the left-hand side. It's overall, it's a pretty fairly simple, repetitive bracelet to do. So if you're looking, you know, you're a beginner. Now for me, a beginner is literally a beginning. Like you haven't done much and you don't know, you know, much about the knots. You don't know how to make a zigzag. That's beginner. Intermediate is you're getting into the knots that can go left, right, or right, left. If you can do those, then yeah, then this shouldn't be a problem. Oh, when I made the pattern, I cut off the video before I ever finished it. What I didn't realize was that it wouldn't be as even as I thought, because there's like 2 full usage of like the yellow coming across all the way like that, and then the other one just does it once. So it wasn't as even as I thought. There was one side overall got used more than the other side. So when I was making the tassels, yeah, if needed, the one side of the tassels could have been much longer than the other. I still had plenty of string left over on both, but it definitely makes me wonder if we do try a pattern where one set of colors got used more than the rest, if it would be in fact long enough. I plan on making one. Maybe even the next pattern I do, I'll just come up with something that uses one string more and see how that goes. But this one, it did not use it evenly as I had predicted, and I think by the time I finished up the patterns and was looking at it, I think I kind of noticed that would be a thing. And because the colors do kind of cross over periodically, if I needed it to balance out, I could have taken and let, you know, when let's say 2 yellows come together, taking a look at which one was the long one, which one was short, and then switch it so that way the longest one goes into the primary function, and could have balanced things out that way, would have been fine. But I didn't, because I wanted to see how significant a difference is if you just go with the normal. It follows the path, it doesn't deviate from it, it just does as the pattern shows. So that was kind of cool. Hey, we're almost to the end of this. Cool. Yeah, I'm dropping off the strings off the side. That's how I recognized it. So hey, you made it through the video. Thank you for that. If you could hit the like button, leave me a comment. That would be awesome too. That helps the channel a whole lot, leaving comments. All right, so here comes the big reveal. Thanks for watching, and as always, don't get your strings in a bunch.